Good evening, everybody. This is Casper from the Tropical Weather Threat Society, bringing you our nightly update on the tropics. And we definitely have new things to discuss. We've got a new tropical storm in the Eastern Pacific. We've got our wave one that we were looking at earlier in the week that was taken off of the National Hurricane Center's outlook is back. That has a 10 to 20% chance of development. We have Gabrielle that has now achieved hurricane status, and we have an unfolding real time historic system out in the Western Pacific that we will get into here shortly. And I've got quite a few tabs pulled up on it because it is an impressive system. So, first, let's go ahead and jump into the Atlantic Basin. As you can see here, Disturbance 1 is the one to the east, Disturbance 2 is the one to the west. So, it's kind of backwards. But this one was already named. As you can see here, we currently have a 50% chance of development over the next 7 days. Nothing in the next 48 hours, though. As you can see, the X still has to get out here closer to 45 west and on the western side of 45 west. And we also have disturbance number 1 or number 2 here, which is currently has a 10% chance of development over the next 48 hours and a 20% chance of development over the next 7 days. So let's jump back and we're going to take a look and try to eye these out on satellite. There's one, and number 2 is back here. As you can see, there is quite a bit of outflow that is emanating from Gabrielle, and there is quite a bit of dusty, dry air that is also being entrained into disturbance number 2. So it will not find a better environment until later on down the road. Now, this area here that we've been discussing all week long, this is forecast to do something along this number here. And when it gets into this area, that's when we're going to have to really keep a close watch on it. Right now, it's only a 20%, but Mother Nature doesn't necessarily care about percentages. It's either going to do it or it's not. So now we're going to, real quick, we're going to discuss Gabrielle because Gabrielle here has a limited peripheral threat to Bermuda, but it also has a larger threat down the road, potentially for the Azores. So currently, Gabrielle is located here at 28.5 north, 61.7 west, about 320 miles southeast of Bermuda, and has now achieved hurricane strength at 75 miles an hour. Movement is north-northwest at 10 miles an hour with a minimum central pressure of 992 millibars. There are currently no coastal watches or warnings in effect. They still wish for the residents in Bermuda to monitor the progress of this system. Our only hazards affecting land will be associated with the increased surf and rip currents across the Atlantic facing beaches. U.S., Atlantic Canada, Bermuda, even getting out there towards the Azores, please exercise caution if going out towards the open waters. If we take a look at its forecast track, now we're going to zoom way in so we can get Bermuda and highlight Bermuda here. Bermuda is well removed from the cone, but a couple changes. One, we have a major hurricane noted here, 2 a.m. on Tuesday, as it is pulling away from Bermuda. But further on down the road, we have still a tropical storm signal here on both sides of the Azores. So Folks here in the Azores would be highly encouraged to monitor the progress of Gabrielle as it is continuing to round across or round the edge of this subtropical high and get caught up in the westerlies and then usher it off in your general direction. So please, folks, make sure that you are monitoring the forecast. If we take a look at the spaghetti plots really do get it awfully close to the Azores. It's just a little uncomfortable there. And still, it's not going to be any type of major hurricane or anything like that, but a tropical storm rolling through can still bring significant impact. So, folks there in the Azores, please just keep a close watch on it. Our most likely arrival time of tropical storm force winds, if we are going to see any of those tropical storm force winds to Bermuda, the time has delayed till after sunrise tomorrow morning. So that is a good thing if the tropical storm force winds arrive at all. As far as the Azores are concerned, we are currently looking right now at around Thursday after sunset. And the earliest reasonable arrival time of winds would be sometime there on Thursday, earlier before the sun goes down. So, folks here in the Azores, just please prepare. Later on in this week, you may have to just remove some of the stuff from out there on the property, anything that can get blown around. It shouldn't be too overly impactful, but still, a storm nonetheless. So if we look at our tropical storm force wind speed probabilities, our Bermuda is right here. Bermuda is located right in the 10 to 20 degree or 10 to 20% range. If we look at parts of the Azores, they're into the 20 to 30% range with a very, very close proximity for the westernmost Azore island there for 30 to 40%. So it would not be surprising if these trends continue for us to see tropical storm watches and or warnings issued for the folks here in the Azores. Looking at the discussion, the first one is always the justification for its intensity. And they've had plenty of reconnaissance out there today flying in and out of Gabrielle. If we take a look at the second paragraph, the thing that is a little concerning, and it is, let me catch the very beginning of the sentence right here. The biggest change in the track forecast towards the end of the period is that the guidance continues to shift a little more southward, especially the most recent 12Z Euro, which shifted closer to the Azores in 4 or 5 days. For now, the NHC track forecast will only be shifted a little southward this cycle, choosing to stay closer to the reliable consensus aids TVCN and HCCA, though it's possible some southward adjustments will be needed in subsequent forecasts. Now, here in just a couple frames, we will go over the TVCN and HCCA forecast tracks. Now, here's where the intensity of Gabrielle is discussed and the forecast. There is the potential for rapid intensification with Gabrielle over the next 36 to 48 hours. Probably more 36 than it is 48, but it's still, you add time over a 24-hour period, so maybe, we'll see. While the structure of Gabrielle on geostationary satellite is still a little ragged with warmer cloud tops than this morning, it has become more axis symmetric. and a recent AMSR2 microwave pass at 1733 UTC indicates a thicker 37 gigahertz Cyan ring than the one observed this morning. 18 UTC DTOPS guidance, which did well predicting Aaron's rapid intensification period earlier this year, is now indicating a 62 to 76% chance of a 30 knot increase in intensity over the next 24 hours. Thus, I see no reason to not forecast in continued steady to rapid intensification over the next 24 to 36 hours, which is in line with the higher end of intensity guidance, but not as high as the most recent HAVS-A run. After 36 hours, ship's guidance shows southwesterly shear steadily increasing, and this should lead to steady weakening through the end of the forecast period. There is still some question as to Gabrielle's structure at the end of the forecast and whether it will be losing tropical characteristics. The southward shift in the forecast track suggests it may hang on to tropical characteristics a little longer than originally expected. The intensity forecast falls back close to the IVCN and HCCA consensus aids by the end of the forecast period. And we will show the consensus here momentarily. Our forecast intensity with this current discussion, as you could see, it is forecast to reach major hurricane strength here in approximately 36 hours, and then still be a strong Category 2 here at 48, and then finally succumbing to its hurricane strength down to a very strong tropical storm at 96 hours, in which it would be on approach and getting very close potentially to the Azores as a rather strong tropical storm. So that would be tropical storm force sustained winds with hurricane force gusts. That would be potentially quite impactful. If we take a look at the Bermuda radar, we can just see the very edge right here. That is Gabrielle. And you could see the very, very edge of the circulation starting to get within that 450, 500 kilometer range. So all eyes on radar here for Bermuda, and as you can see, they're getting a few passing showers here and there, a decent amount of rain off to the northwest, north, and west, with a few showers here to the east, and obviously a hurricane within a few hundred miles to the southeast. Taking a look at the intensity forecast, as you could see here from Cyclonic WX, we have a very clean graphic. I like this one, and there are quite a few that bring it up into the Category 3 range. So we will have to wait and see, and if it does get the opportunity to become the basin's second major hurricane of the season. Now, our consensus aids, as you can see here with the HCCA track, its earlier track has shifted a little bit to the west, not a lot, but then its later on track shifts a little bit to the south, and then it is kind of running once we get past day 4, and a back and forth, a little bit of windshield wiper, but running in the same similar areas. If we take a look at its intensity, it has, first it was kind of strong, and then it kind of came back, and now it's back to not reaching major hurricane strength, but we will have to see as we continue to go forward with this. I would not be surprised if the consensus model ticks up if rapid intensification begins. As far as the other consensus model, the TVCN, this one also had that little bit of westerly shift here in the very, very beginning part of the track. It is a little bit to the south on the kind of day 3 portion of its forecast, but then has shifted a little bit to the north in line with somewhat similar with the HCCA, and would miss the majority of the Azores to the north. If we look at the overall intensity, again around 90 knots, but the intensity has been trending upward. So, something to keep an eye on. Looking at the official forecast track, it is almost identical with the consensus models here. And if we look at the intensity, though, the National Hurricane Center has provided their look at the models and their experts determining that we should see a 100 knot category 3 or 115 mile an hour system. Okay, jumping into our ensembles. This is where we get into the other part of the outlook with our other two waves. Here tonight we have the Euro ensembles and day 7. We're only out day 7. We threw it into La La Land accidentally. And if we look, we have wave 2 or disturbance 1 right here with development potentials right in and around where that X is. And then we have our other signal right here. It is a lot lower, the probabilities here. We've only got 7 circles, which is representative of approximately 14%. And the National Hurricane Center has a 10-20 on it. This first circle, as you could see, we've got quite a few. Certainly not going to sit here and count these, but this is definitely something to keep an eye on, and it currently has a 50% chance of development over the next 7 days. If we were to run this out to 10 days, as you could see, we've got a lot of signal that is going to usher this off out over the open waters, maybe back towards Bermuda, and taking a similar track to what we see with Gabrielle. That would not hurt anybody's feelings. Keep them away. We only got a few more weeks to go. If we compare the Euro legacy with the GEFS, these are physics-based models, and if we run this out 7 days, we certainly have a signal for Gabrielle right here. And then we've got a signal for something here and something here. So both of these, as you can see, are drawing to the north in response to a frontal boundary that would be lingering over the eastern United States. Now, if we run this forward to day 10, as you can see, some of them, if they get a little bit too far to the west, could get a little close, but we don't have any kind of real strong signal that is showing any type of bend back, turn. Everything is out back over the open waters where the physics-based models are concerned. Now we are going to compare that with the Euro AI. Now the Euro AI has been the one recently that is still persistent on this area down here into parts of the Western Caribbean. It is the only one, okay? There is a decent signal here with our first disturbance, and another, as you can see, quite a bit of spread and a decent signal there with our second disturbance while Gabrielle is exiting off towards the Azores. If we push this out towards 10 days, as you could see, anything that is over here into the southwestern Atlantic near the Bahamas turns. You've got the second one following suit there. And then if, and I use the word big if anything were to try to develop out here into the Western Caribbean, at this point, a high pressure would be here, and the track would then be quite uncertain and variable depending on frontal boundary approach. But again, the Euro AI is really the only one that's showing that strong of a signal here into parts of the Western Caribbean. Jumping over to the Google DeepMind, we already have this set out 7 days, and I will go ahead and draw on our first one. We will pull on the forecast tracks. The Google DeepMind does have the potential for this to kind of flip back depending on where it is located, but for the majority of their ensemble members, they take it out into the open waters. Now, please keep in mind that we do not have all 50 members that are, obviously, you do not see 50 dots there. It's not there. If we add the Euro ensemble, as you could see, the Euro ensemble is not really onto that, but has a much more stronger signal with this second wave in the back. Now we are going to shut our Euro ensemble off and bring in the old Google DeepMind and compare it with its newer version of the model. And as you can see, the green dots, there are just a few here on that front wave, but quite a few signals here on that second wave. So all in all, if we could keep this first signal from actually materializing, that would be great for the folks here in the Bahamas. But we have seen the AI models, at least for the Google DeepMind, draw this up out of the large signal, out of the Western Caribbean. Now, if I run this forward to day 10, as you could see, we don't really have a large signal in and behind that at all. So it's all eyes on these two waves and these two highlights right now. Those are the only mysteries. And then obviously for Gabrielle, for folks there in Bermuda over the next 36 hours as it is intensifying and passing by, and then for everybody out there in the Azores. Now, jumping over to our deterministic runs with the Euro and the GFS models. We have the Euro on the left and the GFS on the right. This model is representative of our 850 millibar vorticity. And we are looking for areas of energy or spin approximately 1 mile above the ocean surface. Here is Gabrielle. This is what a signal of a tropical cyclone were to look like. We have disturbance 1 here and disturbance 2 here. I'm going to get them confused. I'm just going to label it wave 1, wave 2. This is disturbance 1. That is disturbance 2. It's very confusing. And we will highlight the waves here on the GFS run as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this forward. We're going to roll this out to about day 3. And as you could see here with day 3, both of those waves have been still progressing across the Atlantic. And the one thing that I notice here is that if we roll back, and it's something that I want to do, notice the distance between the GFS and the two waves there. And if you look here, it seems like the other wave here gets a little bit of what looks to be a small little area of spin associated with this behind and in between the two waves, which really doesn't make much sense. But then it also has the wave get a little bit closer. And as you could see, we're out day 4, and this is where things get a little, this is where things get a little weird. We've got the Euro with our first signal here and our other wave here. The GFS has this first wave right here, and the second wave is pretty much dying. And we don't see that on the other models. All right, so first off, it don't make a lot of sense. And then if I run this forward by day 5, we've got an area here with the Euro. We've got a developing system here that would be Umberto, We've got our other wave right here. But if you notice, we don't really have the second wave. It doesn't exist. And then we get this off the a hybrid piece of some other form of energy and the first wave. Um, like I said, it really it doesn't make a lot of sense there on the GFS, because it is not necessarily the wave that is gaining the energy to do that. Now, we're out here at day 7 at this point in time. Again, we've got kind of the confusing GFS and its development scraping and getting awfully close to the U.S. mainland. But we've got a little bit more of a reliable signal that is going to line up much more with the ensembles, saying that we have this area, wave 2, developing, and the energy from wave 1 right here. But look at this trough. Now, granted, we've got a large high right here, but this trough is what is going to be responsible for exiting that stage right. And as you can see, that similar trough is also what is picking up on the GFS. So they're matching on some things, but not necessarily on the others. And as you can see, a large ridge of high pressure would then build in on the GFS here. And then if we look at the euro, we have another large area of high pressure, but it is orientated in a completely different manner than the GFS. They're not even remotely close to their location and orientation. So a lot of uncertainty there when we get into the vorticity. Now, lining that up with our, you can have the seeds, but if you don't have the right conditions, you're not going to be able to grow a storm. This is representative of our dry air and our humidity levels at different levels of the atmosphere. On the top is the 500 millibar. On the bottom is the 700 millibar. We have the euro on the left and the GFS on the right. 500 millibars is approximately 3.5 miles above the ocean surface. 700 millibars is approximately 2 miles above the ocean surface. Our browns represent our dry air. Our greens and blues represent the moist air. Now, as we run this forward, we will see Gabrielle being kind of ushered off to the east-northeast at that point, out into the open waters. Here comes our other two areas of interest. Now, we remember what we saw with the GFS. Now, this one is, if we look at this, this is where we get a little bit of maybe a hint as to what it was that causes the other area of convection. And that is, if we look at the 700 millibar down here, this is our first wave right here. This is our second wave, but notice this little tail right here. It is almost like it is a rain band. And I'll erase that one circle to show that we've got it right here, and it looks like that it's a rain band right there. That is, and then that little area of vorticity ends up on the top of that and combines with this first wave, and that's what triggers everything to develop. I've got a problem with that. Could it? Yeah. But we're talking about that you're going to have proximity to land helping it to increase its vorticity as well. I'm not too sure that this thing is going to be strong enough to achieve that. I have seen it before with Hispaniola actually, deepening, well, not deepening, but tightening up a mid-level circulation. Not 100% sure about that this one's going to be able to pull that same effect, because the the overall area of vorticity doesn't exist prior to running in to the islands. So it's going to be very difficult to be able to, not have the area of vorticity before you hit it and then all of a sudden develop an area of vorticity after you go by it. It would definitely be one to study if that were to occur. But at the same time, we're out 5 days, and I want to show you that even with the GFS's solution, you've got entrainment of dry air right here, both on the 500 and 700 millibar levels. With the Euro out here day 5, you've got the second wave there, the first wave there, decent bit of moisture at the 500 millibar level with both waves kind of located near one another. On the GFS, our second wave got stretched out this way. It got elongated and spaghettified. It basically pulled it apart like it was silly putty or gum of some sort. If we continue to run this forward, you will see that by the time we get to day 7, the other area of energy with the Euro that was located right here is now being stretched out by the approaching frontal boundary with what would be Umberto right there. If we compare that to the 700, again, stretched out at this point with the potential of Umberto right there. The GFS, on the other hand, is just a mess. And we've already seen that. We've still had dry air entrainment on the back side of this on both sides with a deep frontal boundary pushing through, as you could see, clearing the state of Florida on both models just about in 7 days. And that would be quite welcomed by our friends down there into the southern part of the peninsula, especially if the Euro holds true. You guys will have the opportunity to finally dry out for a couple days. Taking a look at our wind shear, this is from the 850 millibar level, approximately 1 mile above the ocean surface, all the way up to the 200 millibar level, which is about 40,000 feet above the ocean surface. We have the Euro on the left and the GFS on the right. As we run this forward, we will see Gabrielle exiting, and now what we want to do is we are looking for areas of shear, potentially here into parts of the southwestern Atlantic. We have the area that is trying to develop there with the wave. Because of this development, the shear that is added to it with this right here from the development of this first wave is basically what kills it and kind of stretches it out and elongates it, shears it to death. And if we look at the Euro, we have a little bit of shear coming in like this with a area right here with a low pressure, with an upper level low, and then our surface low trying to consolidate right there. So this surface low would be dealing with a little bit of southwesterly wind shear as this upper level low right here is influencing the area in which it is located. If we continue to run this forward, as you can see, that upper level low on the Euro by day 7 has pretty much disappeared. And now we have a consolidated 988 millibar, probably potentially a hurricane at that point. Our other area of interest up here with the GFS is rounding this area of high pressure that was located, but is also being picked up by basically a double barrel low, and you are going to round that and exit out as that high pressure is being pushed off to the east because of those low pressures. So a little bit of uncertainty, things to just monitor and watch, nothing to get overly concerned about just yet, just again things to watch. our dust. We already seen on satellite that disturbance number 2 was dragging some of this dust. And as you could see, disturbance number 2 continues to drag quite a bit of that dust. But then, once we get past this point here, we don't really have much. And we're not getting waves really trying to exit much. There is another wave that does pop up at the very end of the run right there. So again, it's going to be very difficult for these storms from the main development region to reach the United States. But that does not preclude the threats to our friends out here into the Lesser and Greater Antilles, the Bahamas, Bermuda, Azores, and potentially even Atlantic Canada as well. Some of them just don't want to take that tight turn. Our look into the MJO today, as we can see with our update today, we're located right here, and it is forecast to kind of do one of these numbers. As long as it stays within this circle, the enhancement is not really amplified and not there too much. So as long as we can keep it in the circle, and I would prefer it to jump out over into phase 4 and phase 5, but it doesn't listen to me. If it did, we wouldn't be dealing with it. Real quick, Earth null here at the surface. We've got our 2 waves and Gabrielle located right here. I am going to jump this up to approximately 6 miles above the ocean surface. As you could see with this upper level low, it is pushing and flowing in the same direction as to which Gabrielle is moving. And then in the upper levels, it is also being ventilated by this streak of wind right here. On top of that, our wave 1, as you could see, the outflow is impacting wave 1 here. And we do know that some of that wind, and we've seen it, impacting wave 2 as well. So right now, hostile conditions will continue for a little while over these waves until they get a little further to the west. And again, it's areas that we have to watch. The spot in the southwestern Atlantic is not highlighted on the Global Tropics Hazards Outlook, but this trumps that. This overrides that. This is the tropical outlook from the National Hurricane Center. The other one is long range. So, we're going to have to keep a watch on the southwestern Atlantic. No doubt about it. All right. Before I jump out into the other basins, I am going to check here. I don't have questions. All right. Now, we're going to jump out here to the Eastern Pacific, and we now have Tropical Storm Nard. This was Invest 97E. It is currently just south of Mexico and located at 14.7 north, 99.7 west, about 240 miles southeast of that town and city in Mexico. There is no way I'm trying to pronounce that. Maximum sustained winds of 40 miles an hour and is currently moving northwest at 10 miles an hour with a minimum central pressure of 1,006 millibars. There are no coastal watches warnings in effect, no hazards affecting land. Although it is quite close to the coast, as you could see here, south of Acapulco, it is going to continue on a northwest and then turn west, heading out here into the open waters, into the middle of no man's land, and be no threat to land at all. It is forecast to intensify through the 5-day period, and by the time that we get to day 4, day 5, be in the range of approximately 100 miles an hour. That is variable. We'll see. We'll see. If we take a look at the ensembles with the euro, as you could see, we've got quite a few of them. Doesn't get it very strong, brings it out here to the west, tries to pull it above 20 degrees north, and subsequently falls apart to the hostile conditions there above 20 north. If we compare that with the euro AI, similar thinking, get it out here, pull it above 20 degrees north, and poof, and it's gone. All right. So no threat to Hawaii, no threat to pretty much anybody. Maybe Sirocco Island, the military installation for Mexico out there, but that's about it. There's no public, no residential housing. It is just a military facility and a research station. If we take a look at the GEFS, it's similar thinking. Maybe bring it out. The GEFS is a little bit more aggressive with the intensification, but then again, take a look. It gets above 20. You can try to intensify all you want. It's not happening. All right, now to the star of the show, honestly, and that is Super Typhoon Regasa, or better known as Nando in the Philippines. We also have Typhoon Neoguri out here to the southeast of Japan. Both of these are currently major hurricanes, with Regasa being an absolute historic monster. And when I say historic monster, I really mean what I'm saying. It currently has 145 knot winds from the Joint Typhoon Warning Center, located right here. I have pulled out quite a few more products on it here tonight, and we are going to give almost a full breakdown on this. Currently, we are located here. I wonder if I can highlight that. We are located at 19.1 north, 124.1 east. The maximum and initial intensity is 145 knots, which is the equivalent of 165 miles an hour, category 5. Its movement in the past hour was west at 12 knots, which is approximately, we give it 15 miles an hour. And its significant wave height is 46 feet. It is currently 588 nautical miles east-southeast of Hong Kong. This is an absolute monster, folks. It really is. The forecaster assessment of the current environmental conditions, highly favorable. It has currently been undergoing an eye wall replacement cycle to increase the diameter of the eye itself. That may bring down some of the maximum wind speeds, but it's going to trade that maximum wind speed for a wider profile across the basin. And this one's bad. Its current vertical wind shear is between 0 to 5 knots, so basically no. The sea surface temperatures are 29 to 30 degrees Celsius with strong radial outflow. The initial position confidence is high, the initial intensity position is medium, and the initial wind radii, or how far the tropical storm force and hurricane force winds stretch out, are low. We do have forecast reasoning. I am not going to go ahead and read through this here tonight because I will probably end up answering a lot more questions on to exactly what certain terms mean. This is a meteorological, for meteorologists and analyzations. So there's quite a few terms that I am sure that folks are not going to know. If we take a look at the University of Wisconsin, this thing is an absolute monster. 137 knots, 917 millibars, 130 knots, D-print 148, D-mint 148, 142, 145. All of your pressures are just ridiculously low, with some of them getting into the like the very, very low 900s. We've got old data. Let me see if we can get refresh data. Nope, we've got old data here for our eye wall replacement cycle. It was undergoing one, and as we could see here with the most recent microwave imagery from the University of Wisconsin, you can see where it performed that eye wall replacement cycle, getting out to the end and then achieving a much wider center of circulation. I'm going to refresh this, and in hopes that we get new frames. As you could see, the inner eye itself did not have much symmetry in the beginning of the loop, but is now beginning to become a lot more symmetrical on the inner part of the eye itself. You've got great outflow. You've got just unbelievably cold cloud tops. This is a monster, folks. Let me see here. What would be a good color for this? Let's just go with white and hope for the best. We've got residential islands right here. And let me stop this. Pull it all the way out to the end. We do have a storm chaser. Jordan Hall is out here on that island awaiting this monster and its approach. So you guys may want to follow Storm Chaser Jordan Hall with Matt Capucci and the My Radar. Robert Speta has been doing excellent coverage on this and used to live out here and has done a lot of work into the Western Pacific. Highly recommend their videos. This is a catastrophic monster. The sun is just now starting to rise on this. Oh my God. I have not seen this, as you could see with the most recent frames. The sun is literally just now coming up on it. And that is, honest to God, the last thing that I would ever want to see bearing down on my location as the sun is coming up. This is a full-blown Category 5. And you can also see with the way that the sun is coming up, some of these higher cloud tops out here. And this is sick. My heart goes out to these folks. I really, really hope for 0 fatalities on this one, because all these people here, this is bad. Taking a look at some of the models I'm using some of the products here from the university, or Colorado State University. This is our Ensemble Ellipse. We have a model that is developed by the United States Navy and Air Force, the GEFS, the Euro, the Google DeepMind, and the NOAA Eagle. Now, the NOAA Eagle, as far as the intensity is concerned, this thing has completely lost its mind. Dismiss that. Totally. Completely lost its mind. The Google DeepMind wants to keep this well above, for the majority of its ensembles, well above the 96 knot threshold right here through about 60 hours. The Euro wants to have a variety of intensities, with the majority of them being above 96 here through the next 24 hours, and then maybe between 64 and 95. The GFS also wants to be between 64 and 95, which it has absolutely lost its mind, because the majority of it wants to be here in the 0, 12, 24 hour. The United States Navy and Air Force ensembles, look at this. And this is in very good agreement with what we're seeing similarly with the DeepMind, to where the intensity distribution percentages well above 75% of their ensemble members are going to be above 96 knots through at least the next 72 hours. By the time that we get to 72 hours, that's the 72-hour mark. That would be near Hong Kong and Macau. That's a problem. That's a big problem. Not only were we dealing with a Category 5 system here north of Luzon in the Philippines, but we're also talking about major, major potential impacts to an extremely populated city. Now, what we have here, this is Pagasa. This is the official weather bureau of the Philippines and their meteorological service. We access this right through the database, as you can see right here. And we have the Philippines as a quick link right here on the main home page. This gives us our warnings. This, if they want to populate, there we go. This is bulletin number 18. This has all of the information for the Philippines. Moderate or wind signal 2s and 3s that could be increased depending on wobbles. And as you can see, they have a great amount of information with their wind signals. Their wind signals are similar to what we would have with tropical storm warning, hurricane warning, stuff like that. So that is the similarity there. So my heart goes out to these people. Man, this is literally the last damn thing I would want to see waking up in the morning and dealing with something like that. Now, Neo Guri, oh, wait a minute. Hold on. We've got to come back here to Colorado State because there is something that I do want to show. So our wind, 1 in 10 chance of stronger wind speeds for the next 120 hours. So this is the high end strength. This is basically what you would consider like worst case scenario right now. Our major hurricane, 95 plus knot winds, which would need to be 100 knots for major hurricane. But anyway, I digress. We've got them here into the islands and then potentially into Hong Kong and Macau as well. So this could definitely be a problem as whoa. Well, Lord have mercy. We broke that by moving the slider. We won't touch the slider again. This is our 50-50 graphic. And as you could see here, we will erase that and hopefully not have any kind of traumatic shaking of the screen and the graphic. We've got hurricane force winds here, maybe for the islands. For some of those islands, we've got our major hurricane forecast wind speed, and then we will see what happens as we get further on into the South China Sea. All right, Neo Guri, we're at 110 knots, still Category 3, 125 miles an hour. And as we could see here, pretty storm. Not gonna lie, it is a pretty storm. Even though I believe that is an old frame. Oh, it's the. Wait a minute. Hold on. Are we sure? I was gonna say that's got to be an old frame because the sun came up on it. And as you can see here, it's got an eye. It's not clear. A little bit of shearing here on the western side is starting to impact it, and maybe a little bit of dry air as well. It doesn't have that outflow on the western side like it does the eastern side. It is compressed. All right. Yeah. It got excited by the crayons. Yes, it did. It certainly did. All right, everybody, that's about all that I have here for tonight. We will be back again tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central Time here on Facebook and YouTube with the latest on Gabrielle. We'll take a look at our outlook, making sure that things are behaving the way that we would like them to behave. And then we will check in on our friends out there into the Western Pacific and see how Regasa has, how it has, kind of worked through the straits there, and see if we can't get any info on impact onto land, and hopefully no loss of life. So have a wonderful evening, everybody, and we will talk to you again tomorrow night. Good night, all.